Hello and welcome back to Green Money Momentum, where we talk about market movements, making money, and money momentum. I am your host, Trevor, and today we're going to be talking about the top 3 stocks for the month of April. And April has already been pretty rough, as at the beginning of this month, we had Liberation Day, which some joke about was Liquidation Day, and that is because the markets had an overall pretty big sell-off because of the news about the tariffs. And so now that the market has taken quite the retraction, I think that there are a lot of buying opportunities in the market. And the 3 stocks that I'm going to talk about today, I think have a lot of potential to have a pretty big bounce. And so we're going to get into all of that. But I want to say, as always, that this is not financial advice. And I always recommend that you do your own due diligence before making any financial decisions. So let's start out with the stock Robinhood. And so with Robinhood, when we look, they were at their all-time high on February 14th, Valentine's Day, but investors couldn't romanticize for too long about this all-time high, as the stock did take a pretty big retraction and now is down around 50% from those all-time highs. So it went all the way from 65 to now, where I'm recording this video, at $33. But what is positive is you can see on this trend line I have built out that Robinhood has overall been in a pretty bullish trend. And so this stock did get a little overvalued there for a bit, but despite having a big retraction, it has returned right back to this bullish trend going up, which also coincides right with the 200-day moving average. And then when we look at the other indicators of the MACD and then also the RSI, we can see that we are looking a bit oversold there. So just on technicals, Robinhood is looking nice, but we know with the stock market, we can't just look at the chart. We need to look a little bit deeper and see what's really going on with this company. And when we do that, we can see that Robinhood is having positive growth. And so with their Q4 earnings, they did have a strong earnings and they showed growth with 13% quarter gain, which just continues the trend that we have been seeing in Robinhood. So when we look at their earnings, we can see that they are going up, up, and up. And what is most positive is they had their strongest earnings yet. So Q4 of 2024 is the first time that Robinhood has hit $1 billion in revenue, which is absolutely huge, because it's not just that, but also many investors in SoFi were panicking recently as Robinhood came out. They said that they're going to launch a banking product. And so this was a pretty big hit for SoFi. A lot of SoFi investors were freaking out. And I think this is very positive for Robinhood. So as we can see on this article, that Robinhood banking is set to be rolled out by this fall. They will offer checking and savings accounts for their gold members, featuring all of this. And so this is positive, as Robinhood is already a big brokerage. And now the fact that they're going to be offering checking and savings accounts just means that there is more behind Robinhood. And so there's already a lot of retail investors using Robinhood, but now this is an extra reason to put all your money into Robinhood, to have it be the one shop, one place to go for all your finance needs. And Robinhood is already the one of the most popular brokerages out there. So this is just going to increase the popularity in Robinhood, and you better bet that this is going to make more people not just throw their money into Robinhood as a checking and savings, but also use the financial markets as well. And this is pretty big, as Robinhood not only makes a lot of money from their transaction-based revenues, from some other revenues, but a lot of it is from net interest revenues. And net interest revenue being their profits from their lending activities. And so what's really important to think with all these brokerages is that they are making paper in these equity markets. And so while many of us investors feel rich when our stocks, cryptos, ETFs go up in equity, if we don't sell, that is just equity, not paper. All these different brokerages are making paper, real paper, transaction fees, all that, with their interest, all that, while a lot of the times we are just making equity, and sometimes selling our equity that was once high at a loss for less paper than we originally put in. And so with all these brokerages, it's just important to remember that the financial markets go on forever. So they are perpetual. So even though a lot of money has been taken out of the markets recently, as time goes forward, no matter how long the potential bear market takes, there will be more money added into Robinhood and all brokerages. And with all that being said, all the buys, sells, everything going on, again, Robinhood is making money out of all of this. And so as time goes forward, the markets just continue to gain more popularity, as well as the app. With that being said, the next stock that we are going to be talking about here is D-Wave Quantum, QBTS. And so D-Wave Quantum is a quantum computing stock, but why we are bullish on this stock is not just that they are quantum computing, but they are the leader when it comes to commercial quantum computing. And so they already have a bunch of big customers with D-Wave Quantum. Let me see, I have it somewhere here on here. And so we can see here on this list all the different companies that are blue chip that D-Wave is working with. So Volkswagen, MasterCard, BBVA, and a bunch of others there. And so if you don't know what a quantum computer is or the importance behind quantum computing, basically it is like a computer. It's like a supercomputer or a computer on steroids. The reason behind a quantum computer is it is supposed to find some really hard real world problems and supposed to solve these issues in way less time. And so recently they had their Qubits conference, and they kind of talked about all this in that conference, but it really helps a lot of big corporations with some massive issues. So for example, one of them would be with Boeing, and Boeing has a lot with just everything when it comes to the engineering, the scheduling, different real world aspects, you know, when it comes to delivery times, all that. And so all that data gets input into the quantum computer, and they can shoot out data a lot quicker. And so they, with D-Wave, have been claiming that they have been hitting quantum supremacy, and they are already making some big strides. And so just when we look at the technical analysis point of view, also D-Wave did hit an all-time high recently. This was with their Q4 earnings, which we will get to in a second, but we're very positive. Because of that, it hit the top of this trend line. So overall, QBTS has been in a bullish trend. It hit the top of this trend line, but it has retracted since. Now, as I record this video, it is sitting at $6.25. So about a 50% retraction from the highs that we were seeing around $12. But just like Robinhood, what is positive is that QBTS is in an overall bullish trend up. And so you could see these three trend lines I have, and we could see that overall QBTS has been following right along this trend line, which is also with the 200-day moving average. I could see a little bit more dipping in QBTS. Right now, the overall markets are a little uncertain, and so is the direction in this. Even though it is bullish up, we have been seeing some retraction. If we do take more of a hit, I believe that we could go right below $6, but I believe that we will tap this trend line and go right back up. And so QBTS is very volatile, one of the more volatile stocks in the market. Right now, when we look at the MACD, we are starting to get a bit oversold, but we are still a little high there. So again, there could be some more bleeding, and then same as when we look at the RSI. But what makes us so positive about D-Wave is their recent news that that they recently had. And so they had some pretty big catalysts. They came out with their Q4 earnings for the year, and bookings were up 128% year over year. But even more positive, their Q4 bookings were up 502%. And they also have a massive cash position of $300 million. And so with D-Wave, when we look at their earnings history, they have historically been right around $2 million per quarter. But let me get myself off screen here. But with this most recent earnings report, they said that for Q1 of 2025, that they are going to hit 10 million. So that will be their highest quarter of revenue, meaning that D-Wave is gaining a lot of value, a lot of momentum. And then recently, again, they have picked up a lot of customers. So very positive for QBTS, and we are remaining positive on quantum. And the last stock that we're going to be talking about here is DJT, not the president, but the stock DJT, Trump Media and Technology Group. And just like the rest of this market, DJT has also been in an overall downtrend. So you can see here on screen, I have this trend showing how we have been trading down in DJT. But what is positive, you can see these other two trend lines here. These are to show the overall support that we have been seeing in this stock. So in the last year, we have tapped right around $21 to $27 multiple times, and the only times we have been below that level was right before the elections, and then right where we are at right now. When we also look at the MACD and on the RSI, we are looking a bit oversold in those spots. So just on the candlestick chart, I believe that we are under the major support in DJT, and then again with the MACD and the RSI, we are looking a bit oversold. And I think this is pretty unfair for Trump Media and Technology Group, as this stock is actually gaining a lot of intrinsic value in the background. And DJT is not only trying to bring us more into the age of truth, but also into the mass adoption into cryptocurrency as well. And so this is what I mean about intrinsic value. They recently just had a big ETF deal with crypto.com where they're talking about bringing some crypto ETFs, and crypto.com will work right alongside Trump Media and Technology. It wasn't just that, but also they did have a big announcement with Roku recently, so they are going to be on the Roku app as well. Now, there is a little bit of fear, uncertainty, and doubt surrounding this stock, as recently there was a filing that would allow Trump's trust to sell up to $2.3 billion in stock. But just like Trump said last year, he has no intention of selling his shares in the company anytime soon. Now, his shares directly, he actually did transfer to a revocable trust, which is held by his son, and that is just because of a potential conflict of interest with him being the president. But we know that recently in January there were a lot of insiders that were gifted shares. So we had multiple different members helping Trump. We had Kosh Patel, we had Trump Jr., we had Linda McMahon, and a couple of others. They were gifted these shares when these shares were more in the $20 range, and so right now they are underwater. And despite this fear, uncertainty, and doubt article about the ability to sell these articles from the ability to sell these stock from Trump, I don't believe that any of those insiders are going to sell, and I don't believe that Trump is just going to dump on the head of Kosh Patel, Linda, and other members. Also, let's think about this with Trump Media. Even though I personally see the intrinsic value behind the stock, and I am investing because of reasons talking about the cryptocurrency and then also just with the Roku app platform, but a lot of individuals look at DJT just as a meme stock. And if you were following recently, Newsmax, which is a Republican news network, recently had a massive rally. It went up 2,000%. And so when it comes to momentum in these meme stocks, it could go absolutely nuts. And what I love on this article is it's talking a lot about the stock DJT. So it's talking about like DJT on steroids, but we know with the history of DJT, they originally came out as DWAC, which was a merger company. And, you know, Trump Media, Trump Social, all that is all a media network. And so if we're just talking about meme stock opportunities, of course, DJT falls heavy into that category. And when we look at mentions on Reddit, we can see that the mentions are actually upticking. And so with the recent big volatility uptick that we saw with Newsmax, we better bet that a lot of that potential could go into DJT as well. And so those are my top 3 stocks for the month of April. I think there will be a bounce in all 3 of these opportunities. And with the meme stock talk about DJT, with the way Newsmax recently went off, there is a possibility for that in DJT, especially because the markets have been feeling a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt around the tariffs. And so if that situation does get better, of course, Trump is going to get a lot of credit, and that may put a lot of investors to look into DJT. But of course, all 3 of these opportunities are pretty volatile. And so Robinhood does have a lot of volatility associated with it. So does QBTS Quantum. And then, of course, so does DJT. If you feel you can't really stomach this volatility too much, that is understandable. Another opportunity that I would like to present in front of investors are these right here, and that is TQQQ and then also SPXL. These are just the triple leveraged indexes to the triple Qs and then also the SPY. So these run at triple leverage, and just like the markets have been taking a hard retraction recently, these being triple leveraged have taken a pretty hard hit. And so the triple Qs are down for the last month by 42%. And then when we look at the SPXL, it is down 36%. And so these do move quicker than the normal indexes, but that is a positive if you're looking for an even greater return on investment. And that is, again, if we do see a bounce in the markets. And so I think these indexes are a great opportunity, especially if the markets start to recover from here. But do know that there is more risk involved with these. So if you're just investing into the triple Qs or into the normal SPY. You won't lose as much if the markets do continue to trail down, but you also won't gain as much if the markets do go back up. But those are my overall plays that I see having a lot of potential in the rest of April and for the rest of the year. We also have some big earnings coming up in May, and so Robinhood will have their earnings there, and so will QBTS. And again, with QBTS, they already have a positive outlook for the future, and so we should see 10 million revenue for their first quarter. I also look forward to seeing what their expectations are for future earnings. So those are three stocks that I am very bullish on, as well as those indexes. But I would love to hear what everyone else has to say, what you think about the stock market, if you're invested into these opportunities or any other opportunities. So please drop a comment in the section below. Please leave a like and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video.